Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur involved in several unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also the co-founder of Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company located in Silicon Valley and acquired by Vizir in Canada. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world and opportunities are not. So I'd like to introduce our exciting guest today. Marina Chilingaryan is a senior brand and community strategist. She works at No Good, where she's the strategist there, building and scaling a TikTok and community studio. With that, I'd like to bring Marina on board. Hi, Marina.
Nice to see you.
So tell me a little bit about it. So where are you originally from?
Oh, well, that's always an interesting question. I'm from Armenia originally, so very, very far away, many time zones away.
So when you were in Armenia, my understanding, looking through your profile, you went to some place called IB School. What's IB School?
Yeah, well, I was one of the first students at school, and it was the first iteration of a progressive school in a country that was trying to get its path together for going independent and building its own educational system. So I was the manifestation of that, and it was the best merger of the educational system back home, which was cultural driven and Armenian driven, with everything you need from the Western education to get your foothold in countries abroad. So it was definitely a privilege and a pleasure being one of the first alumni of that school, and definitely wouldn't be here if not for that school for sure.
And so how does it work? So you go to IB School. What happens when you go to college? Does somebody sponsor you or help you? How does it work?
That school sets you up for getting a good jumpstart for getting into schools abroad and being competitive with other students who've spent their entire career studying for those schools. I personally went to Berkeley and then followed that at Columbia with a master's degree. So it puts you through that boot camp training you need, from SAT practice to extracurriculars to projects on a national level that you need to get under your belt to be ready for the challenge that is being in a Western school. And the challenge is that you're not the best anymore. You're competing with the best from the best, and not just from your own country, but other countries as well. So it's kind of training for you mentally and also educationally to be prepared for a competition like that.
Now, what's the biggest shock when you came from IB School to the US to Berkeley? What was the biggest shock?
Honestly, I think the school did a good job at mitigating the shocks by preparing you for the kind of environment it is. But I think that specific thing, that you're not the best anymore, because the school really positions you as you're the brightest, you're the future of the entire country and the diaspora and the nation in general. And you arrive at this big school, and mind you, Berkeley is big. It's 30,000 students. It's not your average private school. It's also not your average public school. It's a lot of competition, a lot of sticking for yourself and figuring out how to navigate your path on your own. It's arriving here and realizing there's no one whispering in your ear, you're the best and you're the future of your nation and you're the future of your country. And you're there with people who've heard the same from their own mentors and their own schools and their own countries, be it in the US, be it outside of the US. It's the cream of the crop, truly, and people who are ready to compete. So that was the biggest shock, that the expectations just got much higher.
Wow, that's amazing. So you did Berkeley and you started working at Soma magazine. What was that about?
That was about my writing passion. So the reason I'm at a point where I'm at right now is because for the longest time, what really drove me is this passion for using word and using written words specifically at the time to express both my story and the story of the clients or the projects that I worked on. And it was my personal pathway of finding my own voice. And Soma was definitely a formative experience in getting my foothold as a storyteller, but also a storyteller not for myself, but the people I represent, the brands I represent, the companies I work with. And it was a very strong jumping point because the magazine covered literally a lot of different kinds of industries and businesses and people from different backgrounds. We spoke about art, we spoke about innovation, we spoke about business, we spoke about women empowerment. So the broad range of topics that I got to touch being at that company was incredible and in many ways formative to the kind of a person I became and wherever I went later on and to the point that I am right now.
No, that's great. And then you went to Eva.ai. So tell us a little bit about your experience. Know a little bit about that, but tell the audience a little bit about. So, what did you learn while you were at Eva?
Eva, well, first of all, nice to see you since those days because we worked together very closely. Eva was an incredible experience of being at the beginning of something that is currently and has proven to be big. I think the biggest experience for me was working on a product that is truly setting off to redefine a category. And the category was pretty nascent as it is for sure, and making sure that you operate with and work with the best engineers in the game to not just have the vision for the product and the change and the vision you see for the industry you're operating in, but also have the nuts and the bolts and the brains and the genius behind what goes into creating a product that really creates that kind of disruption. So for us, that was understanding how all of this expertise we have in AI, and mind you, we're operating at a time, as you know, when AI was a buzzword that was thrown around at all. So there's also the extra pressure of we need to prove that our AI is the real kind of AI and it really does generate the results that we all hope for instead of just using it as a marketing buzzword. How do we bring together all these patents, all this knowledge we have, and apply it to a industry that is ripe for change? So for us, that was HR, that was people management, that was culture building. It was very timely with the remote work coming into picture as well, and the need for companies to adjust to how people are changing in terms of their habits of work and culture and interacting with their coworkers. There's also obviously the pandemic, which was a big sort of turning point for the company, and having done the legwork for that period of time leading up to it was incredible. And then, I mean, it got acquired and it's part of Vizier, and to think that we were there and part of the initial team that put all together, it's definitely a privilege and an honor. And obviously, just having that idea in mind that the work that you're doing and the kind of user testing that you're doing and the kind of way you are positioning the technology you have, that might lead to an entire revolution and how the space is viewed, where HR is this archaic department in a company, but not for longer, that there is actual technology driven by an LP powering it, and there's technology that helps managers support their workers and direct reports in the best way possible, and optimizing people's workload and understanding how they feel in order to address their needs at the right time in the right place. I think that's the future, and it was definitely a privilege to be part of that.
No, that's great. And so you went to SoundCloud. Now, you've gone down, you were at SoundCloud, you did Elucid, I can't pronounce it. E-L-U, Elucid. Okay.
Yeah.
Elucid. So you've done the communications and content strategy. So what's happening? You're at No Good now. What's going on with this TikTok? You're the brand strategist there. So what's happening?
What's happening is the way that companies grow looks very different from how they grew maybe 2 years ago. I would even say 6 months ago, and it's continuously changing. And TikTok is just one of the avenues that have completely redefined how companies grow and need to grow nowadays, be it a legacy or a startup. And especially if you're a startup, because TikTok is a platform that really favors the new launches and the fresh starts and the initial part of the journey of a company. And obviously, the pandemic was a very big driver for why TikTok got to a point where it is. This is in addition to how the algorithm works. But as people spent more time online and turned to a lot of online means of consuming content and interacting, the saturation increased to a point where the stakes are high now with the type of content that you go live and you want to establish your presence with and capture people's attention. And TikTok really capitalized on that by spearheading this new kind of content that is social proof driven, that is organic, that doesn't require the same numbers of iteration like other platforms would, where you don't have to go through a massive production period. And it democratized both creators and average people's ability to excel and succeed on the platform, and for brands to completely reposition themselves, humanize themselves, bring them down to the user and create direct relationships with them, be a participant in the community. And this is why we're here, and this is why we're focusing on TikTok as a primary function for the studio, because the platform allows new horizons for brands to grow, to find product market fit, to get a foothold, to launch in an industry, to educate their consumers on their offering and the need for that offering to begin with, and find their niche to tap into and build a community. And I can talk about this for hours, but there's a lot to it, and it's definitely a culmination of a lot of movements we've seen in the past couple of years.
So what kind of results, like you don't have to name the company, but what kind of results have you seen by using the TikTok strategy with a company? What have they been able to accomplish?
We've seen results across the board, and they tie back exactly to the needs of the client. We have clients that come through the door that need to prove product market fit. Well, we do a TikTok campaign or a TikTok strategy that helps them understand the exact positioning and the exact need that they're trying to solve for the customer. We have clients that come through the door that have the product market fit down, but they want to grow. For these, you come up with a content strategy that helps them create a full funnel process where you have your education and brand awareness at the top. You continuously communicate with people about what you offer, what you have to say, what your value add is, and then move them through the funnel to convert to your preferred outcome, whether that's sales or app installs or downloads or whatever that means for your vertical, your business model. And TikTok has proven to be a powerful alternative channel to some of the more mammoth platforms that we know in the industry. I mean, we all know the Facebooks, we all know the Googles, but the truth is that the time and place for putting all your eggs in one basket, i.e. the bigger companies and the bigger platforms that we're so used to, is long gone, and a lot of the audience and a lot of the people you're trying to target are more likely to be on TikTok and more engaged on TikTok too. So I guess the short answer is it'll depend on
how do they go about it? So what's the steps that a company needs to take to do this? So who does the TikTok video?
a creator does. So the way our offering is different from how people have gone around working with creators for a while now is that we first of all acknowledge the need for consistent output on TikTok. I mean, I already touched on the saturation and the amount of videos that are out there. So the volume of output is as important as the quality of it. So for this specific issue, we went down the route of in-house creators. We have a team of stellar video producers and TikTok personalities that represent an ambassador for the brands that come through the door and ensure that consistent output on a regular basis that allows us to continue testing different kinds of formats. Historically, the way it looked was brands would reach out, mass outreach to creators and see what works, see who responds, see how it goes, and then that would for sure give them content. But what you're lacking is the strategic vision, the content strategy, and the consistent output that comes with it. So while we do offer those kinds of relationships, if you're going for someone specific for their region, their community, first and foremost, we're trying to solve for the experimentation and the output that needs to happen for you to find your position on the platform.
So the creators, are they people from the company that do those videos? Because they got some pretty slick videos. Are they people from the company? Are they people outside of the company? Who does them?
There are full-time creators.
They're creators. Yeah. They just where do you find creators?
Ooh, well, there is a lot of ways to do that. There is obviously your LinkedIn posting, job posting, and they reach out to you. You'd be surprised how much interest and just enthusiasm there is for creators to start working with the brands that they feel passionate about. So on the surface level, it might seem like you have to reach out to them and it needs to be an outbound approach, but the inbound for us has proven to be very successful as well, because what that does for you is it makes sure that the people that get in touch with you already have that desire and belief in you as a brand to work with you. So That's number one. There's also, of course, the research and outreach process. There's platforms that facilitate this kind of process, such as the TikTok Creator Marketplace, where you can go and peek at the data of the creators and reach out to them directly and identify them to send them the email on the Instagram message for the initial connection. But the good thing is, and what TikTok has done, is that it's put the power of expression into people's hands. So there's no hierarchy in the creators anymore. There's no celebrities, A-listers, and they're not the go-to choice anymore. I can be a creator, Gary, you can be a creator, and who knows, you probably are. Anyone can be a creator in the hands of TikTok. And that just means that brands have a lot of opportunities to work with people who are A, really good at telling stories, and B, are very passionate about working with them.
Interesting. So what's the future? What's next?
Well, the future we're looking at is you kind of have this industry that's been turned upside down. You don't have your typical influencer relationships anymore that are very transactional. You don't have these one-off striked deals that brands go for to put out one campaign or another. What we're moving towards is sustainability in the space, and that sustainability comes in many forms. One, it's the relationships you build with the creators, how you pick them, how they align with your brand. You will not be just choosing a creator who purely has millions of followers, and you won't be tapping into them just based on the numbers they have. You will be strategic in who you choose, because people are snuffing out fake relationships and transactional relationships every single day right now. And the platform puts this pressure of authenticity and purpose on both brands and creators. So moving forward, the kinds of work and partnerships we'll start seeing is incentive alignment, making sure that the brands between the creators and the entities, the organizations, align closely. We're going to start seeing long-term relationships between the creators and the brands they work with, the kind that we're fostering in our TikTok studio, where we have a designated creator for a designated client, and it is a relationship that progresses and evolves over time. We're moving towards relationship building. We're moving towards meaning behind the steps we take as brands, as creators, because the audience requires transparency, the audience requires honesty, and the audience requires focus on them and their best interest. So we can't get away with just tapping into a celebrity for reach anymore.
No, you see these like families do these funny videos where they're dancing and stuff. Why do they do those?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because dances are not TikTok has evolved as a platform, so dances are for sure a big part of
I mean,
their.
I'm watching myself. They're doing this, these dances, or you have Shakira thing. It's just amazing. Like, why do they do them? Do they make money doing them? I mean, the families don't look like normal families, right? They look like they got something, most of them anyhow.
Yeah, what TikTok really has done, and I'm glad you bring this up, because for a long time, content creation, especially on other platforms that are more curated, has been considered this ideal, polished, strategic choice that you make. What this dance culture, this entertainment culture brings forth is that TikTok is primarily entertain first, sell second platform. And yes, on the surface level, it is dances, it is families having fun, but that actually is what makes the platform such a major key player in the changes that we're seeing recently, is because it forces brands to also think, I need to entertain and provide joy and value first before I try to sell someone something. So not only is that a new format of telling a story, a dance can be used as conveying text overlay information. You can show the benefits of your product through a dance by pointing to different parts of the screen and highlighting it in your captions. But it can also break that barrier in the beginning where people have become so antagonistic towards ads that feel like ads, that when you incorporate elements like this that are joyful, that are entertaining, that are meant to put a smile on someone's face first or provide some sort of value first, the barrier to entry to capturing that person is much easier, because then the ad doesn't feel like an ad or your content doesn't feel promotional. So what happens is you continue building a relationship without antagonizing the audience you're trying to approach, yet you still provide value because you infuse your value proposition into the creator's dance or the creator's
Yeah, I
story.
mean, I don't How do they like, I don't see what these dances are doing, how they can, how, who's paying them? Who's going to pay? So they're doing these dances, right? And there's a husband and wife and a kid, and they're doing a dance. Who's paying them to do what? And where I don't see any advertisement. Where's the advertisement coming into the TikTok?
Well, there's the brand deals. The brand deals pay for the creator's work. So
So they
if it's
just, and
sponsored,
they may have a shirt on, or they may have some brand there. Yeah.
exactly. It could be apparel. The brand can be mentioned in the caption. It really depends on the style of the creator and whatever feels native and natural to them. My personal, this is very subjective, but I personally love Happy Kelly, and I really recommend you check her out. But she does these insane transitions and insane color combinations and dances. And a lot of brands sponsor her, like Crocs sponsored her because she does a lot of dances in Crocs. And on the surface, it is a fun, entertaining video, but people do pay attention to the Crocs, and people
Now, how
do
much
come.
money do they make when they're doing it? What do you think? What does somebody make from somebody like a Crocs?
That's across the board, and it depends on your reach. If you're a nano influencer, you can charge anywhere from a couple of hundred to a couple of $1,000s. If you're a macro um, big influencer with millions of followers, you can charge as much as tens of thousands per video. So your choice as a brand as to who you want to work with really depends on the goals you're trying to achieve, the budget you have. But the industry is so ripe that it offers brands a variety of following and metrics that these creators have to choose from that fit in your budget.
Wow, that's interesting. That's cool. So what do you think? How, if we look at the future, what do you think the percentage that somebody should spend of their marketing budget should they spend toward TikTok?
We right now recommend TikTok as an experimentation channel of 20 to 25% of ad spend. And the way we like thinking about TikTok is that it's not a primary driver. The way the industry has changed is that we consider different channels fit for different parts of the funnel stage. TikTok happens to be the perfect top to middle funnel player because it has that social capital building capacity. It's the platform where you go to create your persona, to create the brand awareness, to be top of mind for clients. So Duolingo is one of those examples. It's a brand that has the mascot, the green mascot, going unhinged on the platform. And it's top of mind for people. When someone says TikTok brand, people think about Duolingo, and that drives downloads and usage for their app. So for us, using TikTok as that initial step to brand awareness, where you can talk to people about who you are, talk to people about what you offer, talk to people about what the benefit of using your product or service is, and then drive those people to your website and then retarget them on other channels, that has been proving to be very successful as a strategy for us. And your Facebooks and Googles are still very important in this mix, but what we're trying to go for is TikTok making brands think more omni-channel versus single channel. So be more strategic about what your mix looks like. If TikTok is driving content interactions on the top of funnel, how do you effectively drive them somewhere to retarget them or remind them about who you are and maybe meet them somewhere with a more specific offering? So if top of funnel reminder is, oh, I saw this dance, it made me happy, and I remember that that woman wore the Crocs, how can you retarget them on other channels from Facebook to middle of funnel Google, capturing intent, so that you meet them with a specific model of the Crocs or a specific edition of the Crocs or a specific new launch of a color of Crocs that can drive the purchase through the gate. So it's fascinating how TikTok has emerged as a go-to experimentation channel. And this is a pro tip for all the people and brands and advertisers out there. It's still relatively unsaturated compared to the bigger players. So if you want to be a first comer or if you want to gain the competitive advantage, now is the best time to get on there.
Now, does your agency focus, does No Good focus on TikTok, or is that just one of the parts of the studio?
TikTok is a studio within a larger growth marketing agency, and it's one of the more offerings that we put out there for our clients.
And how big is your agency?
We're currently around 50 people around the world. We're a global company, so we have people from pretty much a variety of countries and continents, and we're continuing to grow. We've doubled in the past year.
No, that's great. So we're coming to the top of the show. Closing thoughts, and how do people reach you if they're interested?
They can reach me on LinkedIn always. I'm a co-host, I guess, on the LinkedIn event, and I will be happy to provide my email as well as a connection. But I'm very active on LinkedIn, so if anyone wants to reach out or chat TikTok or chat growth in general, I'm always here.
All right, sounds great. And what are closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. Moving forward, be entertainment first or value first and then sell second. And I know this might sound counterintuitive for a lot of brands that have historically been driven with conversions, but the industry is moving towards retention, loyalty building, brand recall. So make sure you consider your actions on every stage of the funnel. Don't discount TikTok. Don't think of it as just a dancing app. There's a lot of formats of videos that live and breathe there, but provide value first and then sell second.
Yeah, that sounds great. Provide value first. So, Marina, thanks for joining my show today. And thanks to my audience for one more time joining GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm your host. Stay tuned for another edition this Thursday. Stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.